welcome to Day 3 of GameDropZone's 2014 Game of the Year Awards. Today, we gather and discuss the best new character that we've seen in video games.
Let's see, we've got Dorian from Dragon Age Inquisition. Vivienne, is that how you pronounce that name?
Vivienne.
Vivienne from Dragon Age Inquisition.
She's not actually French, but the name should be said French. Carry on.
Kevin Spacey, aka Jonathan Irons from Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. Amanda Ripley from Alien Isolation. The incestual brother/sister from the Reef in Destiny.
They're my favourites. They're my dark horse in this category.
Dustin Rowe from Infamous Second Son. And everybody's favourite character, Maurice from Watch Dogs.
So, tell me about Maurice. He's probably the front runner in this category.
Maurice is the most important character in this entire list. He holds the story of Watch Dogs from beginning to end.
So before we go on, let's just point out that we are going to spoil games in these discussions, and we'll probably spoil Watch Dogs right now.
Yep.
So
Maurice, you've played Watch Dogs. I'm sure many people out there have played Watch Dogs. If not, well done. But,
yeah.
Maurice is
Fortunately, I have.
Maurice is the strange man you beat up in a locker room at the beginning of the game, and then you forget about him, and then several hours later, you're told to kill him or leave him alive, and that's the end of the game.
So how long is that game, would you say? Like 12 to 20 hours, depending on how many side missions you do?
I don't know, I blocked out of my mind.
You kind of like that game as well. You didn't hate it as much as I did. I didn't even finish it.
I was willing to give it a chance, but then, I finished the game. I thought I finished the game, the credits roll, and then all of a sudden I'm opening up some garage door and Maurice is tied up inside and I'm told to kill him or leave him. It's like, I didn't even remember he existed.
Do you reckon this is like the Mass Effect thing where everybody's problem with Mass Effect 3 was that you made all these decisions and then at the end it was like really structured? Like you get this ending or you get this ending, or you get a third ending. But do you reckon that's the Watch Dogs thing? It's like, it doesn't matter how many people you kill in the story, how many cops you spare. It all comes down to Maurice.
Yes, Maurice. I told you Maurice is the cement holding the wall that Watch Dogs is together.
It should probably just not be there. I don't think Maurice should win.
Maurice is never going to win. Maurice was my dark horse in this, although I would have happily gone for Niall instead.
He's the most Ubisoft of characters. He makes Arno look interesting.
What about this kid from Watch Dogs that cries all the time?
Is he your son? Or is he your brother? I don't understand the relationship. I couldn't work out whether it was like your girlfriend and your son, or your sister and your cousin or nephew.
I think it's cousin and nephew. Sister and nephew.
She's a bitch, though. She's like really irritating from what I played.
She is.
And the whole, like, that, fuck that game. Fuck that game. Moving on.
What about the punk, scene, emo hacker chick?
Oh,
It gets mowed down in a graveyard. Spoilers.
What was her name? Silent?
Silent.
I don't know, dude. She was bad, too.
Yeah.
Fucking whatever. That game's not going to win anything. Except for maybe one category. But we'll get to that later. So, Delson Rowe, from Infamous Second Son. This is a weird character because he can be either good or bad, and they're like completely different characters. So I've only played the bad version, and he's like the most utter self-centered asshole you can think of.
Yeah.
With like his skinny jeans and his like hipster look.
His red beanie hat.
So basically, like, when you discover your powers or whatever, there's this bitch of a woman at the start, and she basically cements the legs of your. She's got the power of concrete, and she like basically tortures the people in your village. What she did for me, to give up like the position of this other superhero dude, because all the superheroes are being persecuted.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the game, is that you're chasing her throughout the game to get her power so you can stop the suffering of your village, because they're like dying really slowly during this whole game. And then I was an asshole, and then you get back to the village, having got the power and killed the bad woman. And like this woman, it's like I think it's an Amish village, or something. It's like a community like that, basically.
Yeah.
And like I think she's like your auntie or that kind of character, like really motherly character. She like really disappointed in you because you've killed all these people, slaughtered hundreds of cops, and like killed all these people on your pursuit. And so my Delson Rowe is like, "You ungrateful bitch," and then he like firebombed the entire building and killed everyone. It's fucking great. I thought it was great. That was the end. I was like, there was no, oh, but you're really a good guy at heart and you're all doing this for them. He's like, "You ungrateful cow," walks aside and just blows the entire building up.
That's awesome.
Fucking great. That said, it's Troy Baker, so
Yeah.
the performance is Troy Baker throughout.
Now, do you want to tell me more about the incestual brother and sister from the Reef?
Oh, I don't even know their names. One of them's, you're right, you never got this far in Destiny because it wasn't in the beta, but like you meet the Queen of the Reef and she's a Fallen. An Awoken, sorry. But with Fallen bodyguards. So she's like quite a badass, like quiet woman sitting on this throne. And then you've got her brother who's like really smarmy with swooshy hair and he's like giving all these sick burns on you. It's fucking weird. Anyway, and I'm pretty sure they bang at some point. You just don't see it because they're like fucking really weird, and he's like really defensive of her, but she's clearly got him whipped. I don't know. They're the only characters in the game I can remember and really enjoyed.
That's kind of weird.
Like Peter Dinklage is shit. Like Keith David is really bad. Nathan Fillion is not good. But whoever those ancestral brother and sisters were, they were pretty cool. They were memorable. I don't know. Hopefully, they're definitely gonna. Well, I say definitely. It looks like they're gonna be in the next expansion because that's House of Wolves. It's called, which is the Fallen, and I think the House of Wolves is the House of Fallen that like she's enslaved basically, or got the allegiance of. And it sounds like from the leaked content that it's going to take at least some of it's going to take part on the Reef, like actual gameplay there. So,
Okay.
it's super exciting. I can't wait to get back there because they're like the only interesting characters in that game. That said, they're in like 2 scenes, and there's really not enough character for them to win this.
Yeah.
But I'm hopeful for the future.
You Paul McCartney.
Gonna get this in every single video we do. Forever.
That's my goal.
So talk to me about Jonathan Irons then, aka
Jonathan
Kevin
Irons.
Spacey.
Well, let me just tell you right now that this is Advanced Warfare.
Son.
Yeah. Oh, he's so good, isn't he?
Performance is great. Like the facial capture helps, obviously, but he doesn't sound cheesy. He doesn't sound like he's phoning in his lines, does he?
Everything he says in that game, I believe, and he is right.
He's right. I shouldn't have killed him at the end. Chased him
like-
through the village.
It's like, fuck the UN, they don't do anything, I can save the world and rule it.
Dude, that speech against, I think it was the UN Security Council, was it?
Oh yeah, and he's like, I've heard reports or heard people say that, or rumors that I'm building a nuclear weapon, and I just want to say that they are not true because I've already built it.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's so badass.
Oh, he's really
Great.
cool.
And I thought the part where he's like smashing a robotic arm into the wrench was really good as well.
Yeah. He's like, you were like a son to me. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, Kevin Spacey.
Like, it's pretty cheesy, but I don't know. He sells it really well.
Yeah.
Like, even in just the briefings where he's like, you're going to do this mission, you're going to rescue this prime minister or something, because handshake here or handshake there, I can fix this country. Like,
Yeah.
it's fucking great.
Or when you and Gideon and that other guy are just like hanging out in your room and he comes in and you start drinking whiskey with him.
Yeah.
It's like,
so
that's
weird.
really cool.
Right after watching you throw that dude against a lamppost.
Yeah.
Like the weirdest thing. Like, oh, it was good. Kevin Spacey's great.
I wish I could have sided with him.
Yeah, like that's why Treyarch should have made that game. I mean, I don't want them to because they do bullshit like hallucinations, but and I thought the story was pretty good. But yeah, like the ending, I should have been able to choose a side. I should have been able to put a bullet through Gideon.
Yeah.
And then through the rest of the Sentinel people. Like, you knew what was happening, didn't you, when you had that, like, showdown beneath the base?
Yeah.
He turns up in the room. Like, you knew where the story was going to go, but he was a great character.
Yeah.
What did you think about Amanda Ripley? Because I think she's really good.
I don't remember much of it. Did she say anything, or is she a mute character?
She says things, like, there's cutscenes with her in, so you see her, but a lot of it is, like, because, like, Alien Isolation, you're pretty much alone from a lot of it, at least aside from the alien and the robots.
Oh, yeah, you talked to Irish when he encounters you trying to break into that room.
Oh, the dude with the gun, yeah.
Yeah.
But, well, there's a few other times, like, she's on the comms to that sheriff dude when, like, he hangs you out to dry.
Yeah.
And then you get that, I can't remember the guy's name, but he's helping you through, like, locks and stuff later on. And, like, basically everyone you're with dies at some point. Like, that, I thought I just think she's really good Ripley character. Like, Ripley in the original Aliens didn't say a lot, but she was, like, quite clearly weaker than the thing she was fighting, but she wasn't like, you know, shitty or pathetic, and she wasn't like super macho and just facing this alien head on or anything.
Yeah. I don't know who did the voice acting for her, but her performance was really good.
Yeah, like, she just seemed genuine. She seemed like a person, even though she didn't say a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just felt a lot of attachment to her, and I thought the parallels with her and Ripley. Obviously, it's her daughter, but like, I don't know, she's a really good protagonist. I thought, 'cause she's not silent. Like, they're still willing to give you some story and character, but a lot of it is kind of like her reacting to shit, and then how you take that.
Yeah.
I was hiding under desks for the most of the time, so I could understand why she was scared shitless. I didn't. At no point in that game did I feel like I was doing something that, or she was doing something that I wouldn't have done, sort of thing. Like, you know, she's running away from scary shit, and she's doing the things she absolutely has to stay alive. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. She felt really cool, really believable.
Do you want to tell me about these Dragon Age characters?
Yeah, like Dragon Age has a bunch of characters, and these were just my favorites. There's nothing else really to them. Like, Vivienne's this aristocratic enchanter from Orlais. She's not actually Orlesian, so she just got an English voice. But she's like super posh and like badass. And then the scenes later on in the game where you like you listen to their inner voice talking about their fears and stuff. And hers is that she doesn't want to be irrelevant, so she's like always trying to stay on top of the court, and always like, because that's the whole thing about Orlais. It's that it's like aristocrats playing what's called the game, which is like assassinations and politics basically. And like a lot of her stuff is just her being badass and like keeping up this facade that she's like the ice lady, and she'll kill people for crossing her, and it just goes in some really cool places. And then you discover that she's actually got this really weak side, because I guess her boyfriend or husband or something dies at one point, and you never knew she had one or anything. She's like it's weird, really good character. She's got a lot of like, that's the thing with Dragon Age. They're not really boilerplate characters, so there's a lot of them I didn't like, which is really good. And then there's obviously her, who I thought she was badass. And then Dorian is the like super flamboyantly gay character from Tevinter. And Tevinter's the city of slavers, and he's like kind of cast out, I guess, by his family, because he was like meant to carry on the bloodline, and he's clearly not going to because he's gay. And
is he the one that I sent that screenshot of to you?
Yeah, like just ass naked Dorian standing there. Yeah, that actually happens. I can confirm.
That's pretty cool.
And like, I mean, he's got the weird mustache, so he kind of looks like a bit of a joke, but he's just so open, I guess, like the kind of shit he says. And he's got like the awesome one-liners, like at one point, Blackwall, who's just Ferelden Knight, or Ferelden Grey Warden you meet. He's like talking about how Dorian gets his hair to stay up always the way it does, and Dorian's like, it's called basic grooming, you should probably be introduced to it. It's sick as shit. He's like he's like super posh sounding.
Yeah.
Like from this like really noble line, but I don't know. He's probably my favorite character in that game.
That's pretty cool.
So I don't know where to stand on this, because I like a lot of these characters. I think Maurice is a joke, really. Let's be honest.
Yep.
So the reason I put him in there, or did you put him in there?
I think you put him in there, so I would be forced to talk about him.
I think that was it. Yeah, that sounds about right. And I think Vivienne is the weaker of the two Dragon Age characters. But I don't know. Like, I really like Jonathan Irons. I really think Amanda Ripley's good. And I think Dorian's great. Star of that game.
Well, I don't really know many of these characters. I mean, I know Maurice, but he's, like you said, a joke. Amanda Ripley, I don't really remember much of.
That's the thing with her. There's not a lot off her. But I think she's really effective what there is. I mean, like, if we had, like, best female protagonist, she's not better than Bayonetta, but Bayonetta is not new.
Why do we have to segregate the men and the women, Kyle?
Because that's how gender works. I'm sorry. I don't make them rules. I don't think she's as good as Bayonetta, but she's like Ellen Ripley, but you. It's really, really powerful.
Who would you go for in this?
I would go for either Dorian or Amanda Ripley, personally. I don't know which one to go for. They're both great to me. I think Jonathan Irons is great as well, but he's kind of like who he is, and you don't interact with him or anything. You don't see different sides of him. He's just, you see the part where he's beating your arm in anger. But I don't know. I would honestly go for Ripley or Dorian.
See, I would go for Irons.
I think Irons is the best thing about that game, in terms of story.
Yeah.
Whereas I think a lot of what Dorian is what you make of him, because it's obviously your interactions with him. And again, I can totally understand why people wouldn't give a fuck about Ripley. But to me, when I was playing that game, it was really...
Yeah. Knowing, like, I've played the three Mass Effect games, I know, like, the character interaction. I'm sure they do more of this, or more of it in Dragon Age than they do in the Mass Effect games. So I can understand why Dorian would be, in this category. But,
Yeah.
like I said, I don't know much about him. I mean, he sounds amazing. He sounds like a character I would really like if I played the game.
Thing with him is half of what he is what you say to him, like as your character in the game.
Yeah.
So I think Jonathan Nines is the strongest whole character. Like, you have to put a lot of yourself into Ripley and Dorian. No metaphor, no like weird innuendo intended, but Jonathan Nines is just great, and his performance is pretty great.
Yeah.
I'd be happy for him to win this. Like I said, to me, there's like so many strong contenders there.
Well, it comes down to you. I mean, my vote's cast for Irons, but if it's between Dorian and Ripley, I'd probably go for Dorian.
No, I think Irons is the best character that anyone can appreciate, and I think that's important. Like, because like you could play the entire Alien Isolation and hate every minute of your interaction with yourself as Amanda Ripley.
Mm.
And I think Dorian, like, you may never even you're going to meet him because he turns up in the story, but I don't know. Like, a lot of what he was my interactions with him. So I don't necessarily think that's good character, more of like good interactions.
Yeah.
I'd be happy with Jonathan Irons. I think he should win this.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I think his performance is great, dude. That's like half of my review is talking about Jonathan Irons.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he should win.
Alright then.
Sure.
There you go. Best new character, Jonathan Irons. Hopefully he'll somehow survive and be in Advanced Warfare 2.
They will never be in Advanced Warfare 2.
I'm sure there will be.
Maybe. They've
What
got to
about
do something. They've got like 3 series on it now.
Medieval Call of Duty Medieval Warfare. Jonathan
Jeremy-
Irons' great grandfather.
They literally have one of them. Isn't it like Chivalry Warfare or something? I'm pretty sure like Activision is involved in that game somehow. Anyway, we digress. Come back to the site tomorrow to see our most disappointing game of 2014.
What site is that?
www.GameDropZone.com.
See you there.
I need to pee so
So
bad.
do I actually.